I said, we're gonna go ahead and start on our backs. So if you aren't already there, feel free to do so. Equipment that you might want nearby today, you don't have to have yoga blocks, but if you do have some, sometimes they're nice to keep handy. If you haven't already started some music at home, again, maybe having something gentle to play in the background might be a good idea. But we're just gonna start today's practice nice and relaxed on the earth. So go ahead and take your time to get comfortable on the ground. You might be resting flat on your back, or you might decide that you'd like to start with bent knees. Let your shoulders become heavy, resting equally into the earth. Let your head and neck have some space. So the back of the head rests on the ground, but maybe you just take your time and let your nose sweep a little bit easy right and left. It might feel good to open and close the hands or roll around the wrists. It might even feel nice to start to lift the hands up towards the sky and just kind of be a little loose through the elbows, through the fingers. Just let your arms have some space. Looking for a long body stretch next, we'll go ahead and straighten the legs down the mat if they aren't already there. Go ahead and let your arms reach long up over the head and see the body as a nice long shape. Soften those elbows, bend them, and let the arms come to two 90-degree angles on the sides of the body. Maybe the knees begin to bend and the feet rest themselves on your mat. Knees rocking right and left. Take your time. The next time those knees are back to center, we'll go ahead and pause right there. Bring the elbows so that they slide right down along the sides of the body, and then stand the fingertips up towards the sky. I'm going to take a nice decent step in with the heels of my feet so they come a little closer to the glutes. And then you're just going to do a little bit of lift and lower with bridge. So elbows push into the earth, thoracic spine, cervical spine, all engage as we lift and then lower. So the hips can go all the way back down to earth, or maybe they just kind of hover right over the ground. Continue to breathe, my friends, taking a nice inhale breath perhaps as you lift, and then an easy exhale as you lower. Just turning on a little bit of heat in the legs, opening up down the fronts of those hamstrings or quads, hip flexors. Glutes are a little bit engaged. Last one, we'll go ahead and hold the hips up towards the ceiling. Maybe your hands even come down on either side. Watch the knees. We want them in two straight lines down your mat. You know, if your knees start to kind of sway out or one way to the other, we want to try to keep those controlled as if you were squeezing a block between your legs. Beautiful. Start to lower. My heels are going to lift and I'm going to lower one vertebra at a time. Last thing to hit the mat is going to be my heels. So once my back kisses all the way down, then I'll drop those heels. Knees move in towards the chest, hands perhaps even going to the tops of those kneecaps. Giving yourself a little stirring motion. And then it might feel nice to switch the grip to the backs of the thighs. Just elevate your feet for a little bit. Depending on what you've had going on this weekend or this week, it might feel really nice to get some inversions today. So we're gonna have a few extra of those, especially since you're practicing from home. You've got a lot of safety there in your house that you can use to invert with. All right, so when you feel ready, just point and flex those toes, roll around the ankles a little bit, and then I want you to just act as if you are marching up on the ceiling. So a bent knee, and then a straight leg, and you can even give this knee a little hug when it comes down. The tighter you push through that heel when your leg straightens, the more opening you're gonna feel up the back side of these legs. Last one. Let the legs go straight again. And then I want you to just slide your hands up the backs of your legs and see if the head can come up just a little bit up off the earth. If that does not feel good to you, just bend the knees. Bring the head back down. This is a nice modified version. Or you can take just a little lift with the head. Relax that neck. Perfect. Let everything come down. I'm going to bend my knees so they go towards the outer edges of the mat, bringing the soles of my feet together. That feels nice. You can also take heels and crisscross them here. All right, friends, take yourself and rock all the way over to your right hand side. Rest on the earth for just a moment. Push into the ground and find yourself coming up towards a seat. I'm gonna switch just to face you now, but you can face any direction of the mat that feels good. A nice tall spine, and if you can sit in a tall spine without having the need for a blanket or a block, that's fine, but if you want anything underneath the tip of your tail, feel free. Just start to listen. What's going on in your back? What's going on in your shoulders? Where do you feel a little tight, a little tense? Today's practice is going to be about flipping upside down a little bit, about finding a little freedom and being playful in your practice. Reach your fingers out towards the side, lift your chin slightly towards the ceiling, and just breathe. Chin falls down towards chest. Back up one more time, chin lifts. Chin comes down. Hands move to the fronts of the knees. Next time through, belly goes through, chin lifts. Chin comes down, back arches. 2 more, just a seated cat-cow. Nothing fancy. See what feels good in that spine today. Last one. Perfect. Spine goes back up nice and long. We're going to move into tabletop position. So moving over those knees, wrists go under shoulders, knees go under hips, and we'll just take our time playing here in table. So see where your wrists are today. See how they feel. Put a little weight in them, and then sit the hips back towards your heels. Just take your time. A couple more rounds of just kind of shifting weight around. Very good. Just breathing. Stay with me. So nothing too fancy here. Just trying to see how our wrists feel today. All right, next time we come to this table, curl your toes under. Take your first downward facing dog. Hips lift up. Tail sits back. And we walk this out. Another inversion for us as our head hangs lower than our heart. Spread those fingers nice and wide on the mat. Knees drop back down to ground, hips sit back on heels, child's pose. Stretch the spine nice and long. Hands begin to walk towards the left side of your mat, so go opposite of what we usually do. Sit towards that right hip and take a nice long body stretch. Really paying attention to the intercostal muscles moving all down the side wall. Hands walking back to center. Let's send them over to the other side. You got it. Sit into that opposite hip. Hands walk back to center. Back up, hands and knees, toes curl under. And we're gonna do what's called a bear plank. So a bear, like an animal. Toes curled under, wrists directly underneath those shoulders. You're gonna push into your toes and let your knees slightly hover off the floor. Now you're gonna try to keep your back as flat as possible. Your gaze goes several inches out in front of you. Your core is engaged. And we stay here, 2 more breaths. Knees drop, sit back, child's pose. Inhale, breath, back up, another bear plank, toes curl under, knees lift up, hold that shape. Breathe in and out of the nose. Getting our core nice and warm. Last breath. Knees drop back to earth, hips sit back, flatten those toes down, child's pose. Bring yourself back up to a half plank or a tabletop. Flip the wrists over so that we can get a little stretch for the tops of those wrists. Bring yourself back up, turn fingertips to face towards the outer edges of your mat. Turn your fingers so that they face towards each other on the mat. Just kind of playing around with different positionings with the hands. And then I want you to go back to that original place where your hands are turned slightly towards the outer edges of the mat. And you're going to do something kind of tricky today. I want you to try to keep your fingertips on the ground, but see if you can lift the heels of your hands just a little bit up off the earth. Feel this in your forearms, and the muscles in your wrists. It's a great way to build some wrist strength. Turn your hands forward, do the same. Only trying to lift the heels of your hands up off the mat. All right, perfect. Sit back towards those heels one last time. Bend the elbows into the ground. Hands take prayer. Tuck themselves behind the head. Hands drop down. Back up to hands and knees. Downward facing dog. Hips lift high. Upside down V. Now walk this out. Remember down dogs, we're supposed to try to make our spine nice and long. So for a lot of us, we need some bent knees. We really need to push through those heels to get length in our legs, length in our backs. All right, small steps with your feet. Take your time, begin to walk forward towards your hands. Maybe your hands even come up off the earth to meet you, and you're in your first forward fold. Inhale, come up halfway, long spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach up, look up, gaze towards the ceiling. Hands come down and rest at your heart. Half sun salutations here. So inhale, reach. Exhale, hinge and fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reach. Exhale, hands to heart. Last one at your own pace. Take a big inhale, hands go up. Exhale, fold. Half lift. And fold. All the way up. And then back to to the heart. Placing weight into your right foot, left toes come up off the ground, and just stand in a nice one leg lifted pose. This foot that's kind of out, we're going to take it in so that it hovers just inside that kneecap. Looks like flamingo pose. Arms reach out wide, see if you can take a T here, just a little bit of balance. One more breath. Perfect. Step that foot down, take a half sun salutation, hands reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. I can't hear you breathe, so make sure you are finding that breath. Reach it tall. Exhale it to the heart. That's definitely one of the few things that I definitely miss with virtual yoga. I don't get to hear you breathe. But I know you can safely do that at home, so feel free. Let that exhale be really strong. Turn this to flamingo if you haven't already. Take the arms out. But your breath can be really fluid at home. You can find that full exhale. You can find that full inhale. Not behind a mask. Perfect. Let this foot step back down to earth. Full sun this time. So I'm going to turn sideways. Inhale, lift. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Hands are going to plant down on the earth. Step your feet back. Plank pose. So those bear planks got us ready. Our core is engaged. We should be ready for a full plank. But if you need these knees on the ground, feel free to put them there. Otherwise, pull through the crown of the head. Push through those heels. Engage the core. Lift between your shoulder blades. Give it another breath. Knees drop into earth. Easy down. Give us a cobra. One lift. Back down. Hands might walk even with the breastbone. Curl toes. Lift hips. You're back upside down again. Downward facing dog. Right knee drops to the ground. Left leg goes long. Turn that inside edge of the foot to touch your mat. Right hand goes directly underneath your face. Lift up with this left hand. Gate pose. Hold in that shape. We're going to take this hand that's in the air and it's going to do a full circle. Reach towards your head, down towards the floor, and then back up. You'll notice this wrist on the earth is slightly out in front of me. That helps keep the pressure out of my wrist and lets my forearm absorb some of that. Stay tall. This time, just let it come and hang by your ear. Look for a little length. You might even start to pull this back leg up off the ground. Maybe that foot flexes. Or maybe it stays down. Perfect. Hand that's in the sky goes to earth. Roll over, lift hips, back to plank. Lower down. One cobra, or take the hands back a little deeper this time for upward facing dog. Transition as you feel ready, back to that down dog. Stay in that shape, one more breath. Left knee drops to ground, right foot turns on its inside edge, left hand directly underneath the face, right hand lifts up. Circle shape. Bringing this bicep over towards the ear. Let the body get nice and long. Maybe these toes come up off the earth. We flex that foot. We keep our balance. Or maybe foot comes down and stays on the earth. Lifted arm begins to look for ground. Lift hips just enough to go back to plank. If you need plank on your knees this time, that's okay. Lower the hips, lower the chest, up dog or cobra, and then take your time, child's pose, or downward facing dog, whichever option feels best to you this morning. Perfect. Small steps forward towards the front of the mat. Take your time, maybe even a leap up there if you're feeling extra crazy today. Inhale, lift it up halfway. Exhale, fold. Stand strong through those feet. Reach the hands up, and then just exhale this to your heart. Close your eyes, take a breath. Maybe even do a big sigh right over those fingertips. Right foot grounds into the earth, left toes lift for your flamingo again. Put it right on the inside of that kneecap. Hold space, arms take T. Now to fancy up your flamingo, this time your hands will turn, palms face in towards one another. They can touch or leave a little space. And then just send this foot back long behind you. Stay there, my friends. One more breath. Hands come down by your hips as this foot lowers into the earth, and look for crescent. See if you can take a decent bend in this front knee. Back leg feels strong and rooted, though if you notice my heel is still up off the earth. Hands lift tall. Taking hands to heart, we're going to start to twist just slightly towards this front knee. Hands going right on the outside edge of that knee. If you want a bigger twist, you of course can take your right hand and lift it up. I'm going to lose my balance in the process. Unwinding from that twist. Back to our upside down theme. Hands are going to go down towards the floor, and we're going to see if we can lift this back foot up for a standing splits. This would be a great place for a set of blocks. Of course, mine are way over there on the other side. But you can reach for blocks, or hands can go to the back of that calf. You could shimmy yourself over close to a couch or a wall for a moment and use a little help. But just take 2 more breaths. 2 more breaths. Beautiful. Lifted leg. Go ahead and start to swing it up towards your front standing leg. Maybe you're in a forward fold. Maybe it turns to kind of a rag doll for a moment. All right, friends, plant the feet. Big inhale. Reach up. Look up. Hands to the heart. Full breath here. Stand strong. Left foot becomes your standing foot. Right toes lift into your flamingo again. Maybe arms even fly out to the sides. Hands start to switch forward. And then we start to send this leg back. Hold. Find something to focus your gaze on that's not moving. Hands sweep back by your hips as this toe lowers down to catch us for a crescent. Arms lift tall. And then just take your time. Bring your hands to the outer edge of that front knee. Make that same twist shape. Maybe you open. Maybe you don't. Hands come back to heart. And then now we're going to go again like we did before. Hands will come towards the earth. Might need to inch this back foot up just a little bit so it's closer. And then find yourself in that standing splits. Now, I don't know about you, but when I do this pose, I have a tendency to want to fall into the arch of my standing foot. Like my foot starts to rotate towards my arch. Be intentional with that. Keep that foot nice and grounded and strong. Sweeping this lifted leg up towards your standing leg. Again, separate the feet a little bit Give yourself a little bit of freedom movement in your ragdoll. Let the head be heavy. All right, friends, feet start to walk back towards the middle of the mat. Hands plant, feet walk back long. Put yourself in plank. Full vinyasa again, knees drop if you need. Exhale, lower. Up dog or cobra. Put yourself upside down, downward facing dog. Head down towards earth. Flipping ourselves upside down to restart the nervous system, give us new perspective. 2020 has certainly been full of changes this year, and I do think that flipping upside down is a great way to deal with change. See if you can reach your left hand back towards your right foot. Now, if you can't do this in a full down dog shape, you might find yourself bending your knees down and reaching back in between your legs or this ankle. That's a modified version. Hold for another breath. Switch hands. Arm strengthening, obviously, this is a big strengthener, but it's also a twist here. So if it's too much, drop your knees down, reach your hands back between your legs, reach back for that ankle or somewhere in that direction. Maybe gaze underneath this armpit. A lot of you have blacked out your screens today, which is perfectly fine. It's hard for me to know if you're doing the full version or the half version. So sometimes us instructors kind of go off of your mood in person. It's a little hard to find your mood when you're on the computer. All right, friends, come back to just a traditional down dog, small steps so the feet start walking forward. Hang in that forward fold. Half lift. Exhale, fold. Stand tall. Make sure you take a big breath because you were upside down for a little while. We don't want to feel dizzy. Hands to the heart. Inhale, breath here. Let's the elbows grow out to the sides. Exhale, pull them in. 2 more. All right, I want you to step on your mat, however it seems appropriate for you to get wide leg. So it might be right foot step back, left foot steps back, whatever is going to be best for you to be wide on your mat and still be able to have some visual cueing from me. Toes in a nice straight line with one another. So take a quick peek down. Let's make sure those are even, or the best of your ability that they're even. A little bit of hip sway might feel nice. You're going to turn your right toes so that they face the right edge of your mat. Arms reach wide, mountain pose. Warrior 2. Reach. One warrior dance. So flip right hand, lean away from that right knee. Back to warrior 2, side angle. Back to warrior 2. Arms are going to cartwheel down so that they go on either sides of this right foot. Spin your left toes, hold. Left knee drops. 1 breath. Inhale, up. Exhale, down. Curl up these toes, lift the knee. And then this is where you're going to have to pay attention. Walk hands as you turn this foot. Walk through the center, over to the other side, and then lift your chest. So you're looking for warrior 2. My back foot's gonna stay flat or parallel with the back edge of my mat. My knee straightens, I'm looking over that left, or knee bends rather. I'm looking over that left arm. Warrior dance, lean away. Back all the way through to your side angle. Maybe find a smile in that side angle. Back to your warrior 2. Hands are gonna cartwheel down towards the floor, spin on these toes on that back foot. Hold that runner's lunge. Back knee drops. Toenails touch. Inhale, breath, one up. One down. Curl up the toes. Start to rotate, walking, paying attention to your knees. Spin so your heels connected, your toes are lifted. Hang in the middle. Now you're going to want to check these toes again. See if they're in somewhat of a straight line with one another. Hands can be on blocks. They can be hanging. They can be resting on the earth. Flip yourself upside down here. There's lots of different wide folds you can take. Hands might reach towards outer edges of feet, ankles, thighs, low back. You might place your hands in the middle of the mat. You might have them on a block. You might walk this in because it's too big and just kind of hang. Wherever you are, give yourself a little more breath space, flipped upside down here. All right. Hands start to move back towards center. You're going to shift some weight towards your right side. I'm going to turn my right toes just slightly outward. Bend that knee. Left toes might come up. You can stay here. Some feel good lifting chest. Some stay a little deeper with hands down. Some look for a block. Some might have to skip this and be up higher. Something like this. That's okay too, if you need to be up higher. All right, let's move those hands back through center, head over to the other side. Now always pay attention, whatever direction your knee is bending, that's the way the toes need to go. So on this foot, my toes are kind of turned outward because my knee wants to kind of spin out. Beautiful inner thigh stretch. This adductor is getting some much needed attention. Probably should have put together a little detox and digestion class today. Though I flipped you upside down, that usually helps a little bit with that too, but hopefully you attended Yen yesterday with Sarah. If not, it'll be in the content library in a couple days. She was nice enough to record that for us. All right, start to lift your hips up nice and tall, hands back hanging in the center. Turn the toes on both feet outward, heels inward. Walk your hands up one at a time to your thighs, and then look for a tall spine. So even though my knees are bent, I want to see if I can make this tall spine resting here. So you can decide what you want to do with your arms. Some might keep them out in a box shape. Some might decide, you know what, I'm going to really just focus on my spine. So I'm going to kind of hug my tummy in and push on my heart. Some might feel better with hands down here resting on your thighs. So you decide where those hands should be. Give it one more breath. And then start to stand up tall, legs go straight. I'm going to take my right foot, turn it so that it is parallel with the side of my mat. My left leg is still straight, arms reach wide, and I'm going to just take one more triangle right over that leg. So I'm going to reach over, pulling this hip crease back into my body as I reach over with the opposite arm, and then just tip. Or reach over with the same arm, I guess. My bobby pin is starting to fail me. I can feel my hair falling into my face. All right, bring it back up. Chest comes up. Soften that knee if it needs it. Begin to flip this foot so it's parallel with the mat. Opposite leg goes the other way. Pay attention to your alignment with your heel. Maybe that instep. Arms are wide. Now we're not rushing into these triangles because I want it to really feel like something. So pull that hip crease in, reach this arm way out over, and then tip. You know, you can always reach for a block. I've been kind of bad today at showing you how to use those blocks because I was lazy. I left them way over there and didn't go grab them. Would have been really simple. Reach for that. You also should be pretty glad you're not in studio today because it's hot in here. I hate to admit that, but I'm paying for too much heat today. Heat, it's cooking in here. All right, go ahead and start to turn your toes so that they face the same direction. Arms come out, take that T, and then I just want you to go star on me. Or that was cactus, cactus to star. So your legs are wide, your arms are wide. See if you can just ground through your heels. Your pelvis wants to push back towards that wall. See if you can just give it just a slight under tuck so that you feel engaged and powerful through your abdominals. And then you're gonna bring your arms down to your side just long enough. My feet are way too far apart. So I'm gonna bring my left foot in just about a step or so. And then my arms are gonna go back to star as I put weight into this left leg. And I'm gonna lift my right toes up off the earth. So one more round of balance. So arms are reaching wide. Toes might need to tap and reset a couple times. You're using side body muscles. Core is engaged, quad is engaged, calf, ankle, arms, lots of work here. Foot comes down, switch sides. Get your balance ready and just go right into it. Beautiful shining stars. Inner thigh again, that one we just did that big stretch for, it's getting some work now. Quad is lifting, holding us in place. Core is all strong, especially these side body muscles as we reach and hold those hips square. All right, beautiful. Drop that foot down, give yourself a ragdoll. Let the head hang heavy, sway. All right, from your ragdoll pose, we're gonna move into a squat. You can choose to bring knees together, or you can separate the knees wide. I'm gonna do a knees together squat today, just because we've done a lot of wide angled things in a row there. I'm gonna give my hips a little break. Let the belly rest on the tops of the thighs if that feels okay to you. Maybe even let your chin get heavy, wear it like a necklace. Let it hang down here on the front of your shirt. Of course, if squats don't work for you, you know you can always skip this. You can bring your seat to the earth. But take a couple more breaths. All right, I'm going to shift just so you can see what I'm doing next, but we're going to drop our knees straight forward. So take your time to do that somewhat gracefully, carefully. Then you're going to bring your arms down to the mat and you're going to make kind of a triangle shape with your arms. So I'm going to give you an option. Some like to do a fist and then take the other hand and just wrap it around the outer edge. You're doing a headstand prep. So you're not necessarily doing a headstand unless you want to put yourself on a wall and play with a headstand for a moment. But we're just doing prep today. So fist, hand wrap slightly around the outer edge, and your arms are in a nice equilateral triangle. A little geometry for you today. So put yourself in that triangle shape with your arms. You could be right here and just sit your hips back and get a good shoulder stretch. You can put a little bit of weight into these arms, curl your toes under, put yourself in what looks like dolphin pose. Stay right there. Or you can get a little braver. Drop the top of your head down to the mat and walk your toes in a little closer. Now, when you're in that equilateral space with your arms, you've got a lot of weight in your arms and not a ton of weight in the top of your head. Those of you who have put your head down on the ground, you should not be compressing the top of your spine. You should be balancing it out with that equilateral triangle. Flipping upside down, friends. Drop the knees back down. Now, as long as you are upside down, you need to countermeasure that with a child's pose. So maybe the arms relax now. My friends that might have taken a full headstand, maybe using a wall at home, make sure that you've come down gracefully, slowly. Use your arms, use your hips. Let yourself slowly move into a child's pose. You can, of course, always reach for a block to assist in your child's pose. Maybe it feels good as a little massage underneath the forehead. Oh. Perfect. All right, my friends, take it to a table when you feel ready. Just a traditional tabletop. Couple cat-cows. Make sure those hip flexors and spine are back. Make sure they're connected with your breath. If the cat feels a little more comforting than the cow, stay there for a breath, or vice versa. All right, option to bring feet out to the side and find your seat, or walk the knees forward towards your wrists, maybe crisscross and just sit over those legs, whatever works. And then just start to unwind the feet, unwind the legs, let them go long out in front. Walk the knees. Knees bend. Bring your hands back by your hips. I'm gonna do crab pose with you today. If crab pose is irritating your shoulders, I've had a couple requests for modifications when we get to crab lately. If you need a modification, you're gonna take staff. That just means your legs are gonna go long, hands come down on either sides of the hips. You push into the earth with the arms as you lift with your shoulders, and you'll feel your glutes just kind of hover a little lightly on the earth. This is the modification. The legs are very active. Otherwise, knees are gonna bend and you're gonna do exactly what it sounds like crab walk from elementary school, where you lift your hips up off the earth. You try to make that table version, gazing down your belly, or maybe relaxing your neck back. Wrists can be facing outward, forward, whatever feels best in your own shoulders. Activate that core, pull belly button into spine. Beautiful, hips start to sit down. Separate the feet as wide as the mat. Take your right arm around the right edge of your knee, left arm around the left edge, and let your belly kind of collapse down through the middle. One more breath here. You can open and close hands or roll around wrists if they feel a little tense after that crab. Soles of feet look for one another. Knees fall out. Spine grows long. Chest sinks slightly forward. I'm hoping that my volume is coming okay on your end. There's usually a few people in here to absorb the echo, but not today. So hopefully we're not too echoey for you. I did move the mic a little closer, so hopefully that helps. Start to lift the chest away from your feet. Spine grows tall. Knees back to center. And then let's head back to your backs. Now, you've been doing yoga long enough that if you want a block, a blanket, a bolster, whatever you think you might like as we get close to the end, Feel free to reach for those things. Your knees might come into chest. If you feel like, you know what, I could benefit from one more inversion, you could always reach for that block again. Throw it underneath the back. Right at the sacrum, not the cushy part of your bum and not the small of your back, kind of right in between. Maybe your feet lift up tall, your spine is long. And though this isn't the same to practice with you right next to me in person, I hope you feel the love through your computer screen today. And know that all of us here at SIFT get such a huge reward, honor, warmth when we practice alongside you. We know we're part of something bigger than ourselves. Just by breathing alongside you. Pay attention to these ending postures today. Listen to your own body. See what it still might need. Many of you, when you stroll into a yoga flow class, it means you're comfortable enough with your yoga practice that you're ready for something a little bit, maybe more intermediate. So I always hate to cue you all the way to Savasana because I know that we each have our own things, our own stuff that we like to work out and move through our body before we hit that final rest. So just honor what your body might be asking for here. Take a quiet moment to listen. Because odds are you need something different than I do. Or your neighbor on the screen. Your neighboring Zoom box. But we're definitely to the part of practice where if you're ready to take whatever version of Savasana you'd like to embrace today, feel free. Whether it be something supported, like I've chosen to do a supported bound ankle, taking a set of blocks, putting them just underneath the outer edges of my knees, soles of the feet are meeting, hands wrapping along the heart and the belly. Maybe you want something different with bent knees, the back relaxed. You can even take yourself with a block between knees over to a side lying position. Take your time to embrace whatever version of Savasana, a final rest you can find. This part of our practice is often rushed, especially in online yoga. So I want you to take your time here. Use these full few minutes to begin to close out your practice. Don't jump off the Zoom. Don't turn on the lights. Just rest. Let everything begin to settle back into place. Let there be a softening of the body. Perhaps starting at the top of the head, moving down through your forehead and eyebrows, cheeks, chin. Let it move across the back of your neck, along the shoulders, down each of your arms, through the spine, and then down your legs. We'll stay in this final resting pose for a few more minutes. Slowly starting to become aware of your breath. Allow your inhales to deepen, your exhales to deepen. Gentle wiggling of your fingers and toes. Movement through the neck, maybe even the shoulders. Might feel nice to begin to bend the knees if your legs have been long. Hug those knees in close to the body. Maybe sway a little bit right and left, or roll all the way to your right hand side. Rest in somewhat of a fetal position. And then when you're ready, we'll move back up to our seat. We'll bring our hands together, palm to palm, rest them near your heart. Close your eyes. Hope that you've enjoyed this playful practice today. The challenges that we found in flipping upside down and taking a little more strength into our practice. Our final reading today is a great one. It's entitled Inner Pause Button. Notice how most decisions you need to make are not urgent ones. Take a breath and recompose yourself before acting. Taking those extra few seconds allows you to break free from the involuntary think, feel, react habit. Taking those extra few seconds allows you to break free from the think, feel, react habit. I invite you today to remember your inner pause button. That option you have to pause and just take a breath before we choose to react. May you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you again for not only practicing physically with me today through the computer, but just letting your mind and body, your spirit have a chance to reset as well. Namaste.